Hi, I'm Daz, I'm the producer of The Drift, and you'll notice that there are no computers behind me today. They're just over there, actually. But what I thought I would just sort of talk about today is how the visual effects are going and how we kind of manage those visual effects. It's quite a complex process, and primarily it's complex because I suppose of sort of two things. Primarily two things? Anyway, the first one is that we're all not in one place, so we have to communicate over the internet over a distance, and that can be difficult because you don't have the luxury of being able to lean across and talk to somebody or work at the same time because we're in different countries and stuff like that, so different time zones we have to deal with. So that's kind of the first challenge that we have to overcome. And the second challenge that we have to overcome is that people working on different types of software, and although we've narrowed that down, so we principally work in After Effects and 3ds Max, because they're quite expensive, people are working on different versions. They can't just pay and upgrade to another version of After Effects or 3ds Max. And if we were to say, well, we only use this version, then we're going to reduce our number of artists quite considerably. And if you think about that, so far we probably had, well, we have had about 600 to 700 people seeing our videos, specifically asking for visual effects artists. These are people who are visual effects artists themselves. We put it onto different forums and stuff all over the internet. So about 600 to 700 people have seen our request. And of that 600 to 700 people, we probably had about 100 email us. And of those 100 who've emailed us, about 50 were still decided to help us out. And of those 50, we probably got about 25 who are still with us. So if you think about going from 700 to 25, that's the catchment that we get for every 700 people who see it, 25 we get. So if we were then to say, well, we only use After Effects 6 or 5 or 5.5 or whatever, then that would go down even more. So that's a big deal. So we have to manage that. We have to manage both geographical issue in terms of people aren't in the same place and different software versions to create the same effect. And there are other complexities too, like plugins and stuff as well. So people have got great ideas about how to do a certain effect. They've got this wonderful plugin, then they send us the After Effects file and we can't use it. So, okay, well, they can send us the video file itself, but then it's often the case that these shots have multiple layers and that requires a lot more management. So we have to sort of weigh up and arguably compromise some of our shots just so that we can get the shot finished. And I suppose that's kind of a trade-off of making a movie this way, making a massive movie with not many people and certainly no money. But, you know, we're still moving forward. But the reason why I've sort of got the board behind is to sort of explain how it works. So basically, we found in the past that we used to do the whole thing where we give somebody like 30 shots and say, right, you've got 2 months, crack on, keep in contact and we'll see how it goes. And the reality is, especially if people aren't being paid, and it's through no fault of anyone else, it's human behaviour, that, you know, no one wants to just sit there and do a whole pile of work over a month. So what normally happens is that most people then just don't do it until like a week before, and then they rush through them, and then right on the deadline or just after that month's deadline, we get some shots. They're not they're all right. They're not brilliant. They're not rubbish either. But they're not. They didn't take a month to complete them. It took a week to complete them. So we kind of sort of changed the philosophy a little bit and said, well, okay, well, look, why don't we give people less shots but in less time? And that's what we're doing now. So we give people shots to do that should take about 4 days. And we have to try and work out how many shots we're going to give them depending on how good they are, how fast they are, how much they want to do, and the complexity of the shots. So, and that's been really good because that's actually significantly increased our output. In fact, so much so now that we're struggling to keep up with all the shots that are coming in, which arguably has to be a good thing, I suppose. It makes it difficult for us to feed back on the guys and say, well, what do you think of the shots? Because we have to, as I mentioned before, we've got guys working all different types of versions, and I don't have every single type of version. So we have different people in the group, in our sort of my dream team, who do have those different versions. So they have to, these After Effects files have to go around the rounds to all these different people to change it into the format to ultimately turn it into the format that we use, which is CS6 Creative Cloud. So there's a complexity there, and we call it conforming. So basically we have to conform that After Effects file, that project file, so that we can actually ultimately use it in the final project, and that takes time. There are little shortcuts. We sometimes get the guys to render as a video file straight away, so I can just look at it and give some immediate feedback. But on the whole, that's how it has to be done. So that's sort of the first thing, and then the next thing is the management. So we've got probably about 20 or so artists on the board there, and there's a 4-day turnaround. So I've got to, and I'm managing it at the moment. So I have to basically email all 20 guys every 4 days, not just email them, say hi, but with a task, and also in between those 4 days, so every Monday and Thursday that the shots go out, they're sending shots in. So they don't just send a whole bundle of shots. As soon as it's done, we say send it back straight away. So we get all the stuff. So typically, I could be getting, if each guy gets 4 shots, there's 20 of them, and there's 4 days. I mean, you're looking at 200 emails, something like that, something ridiculous. So it's a lot of work. So in the old way you used to do it, we just send out, here's 30 shots, see you in a month. That was great, because then I could crack on with sound effects or something else. Now I'm having to work a lot more in keeping the momentum going. But actually, that's probably how it should be, because if you think about it, these guys are doing all this work, and I know they're doing it for themselves insofar as that they get these shots, they can use it on their show reel, they're part of something big, etc. But they're also doing it for nothing. And there are other ways they could make their show reels. It doesn't have to be for us. So I think actually it has a secondary benefit, which is that we're maintaining a more constant communication with our guys. And that's really important. That's production leadership. That they should feel part of the team, and they are part of the team. These guys are all over the world. So I think that's a sort of secondary benefit. And the other thing is that it allows me, as the sort of the overall producer, and Helen as my sort of visual effects supervisor, to start assessing each of these guys in terms of, well, what else can we do with them? What other effects could they do? Because at the moment, we're just, when I say just, we're completing the sort of like the broad effects, like backgrounds, that kind of stuff. Whereas in the future, we're going to be doing more specific visual effects. So things like explosions or lights, that kind of thing. And those type of shots require a lot more sort of communication. What's up?
I'll give you a hug.
You want to give me a hug?
Yes.
Oh, okay then. So, and that requires good communication. So, this type of model actually allows us to do that. So, and it's a very simple list that I have up here. Basically, on one side I have all the names, all the guys. They all have what's called a TLA, which is a 3-letter abbreviation of their name. So when we put their effect on the spreadsheet, we know what's going on. And then I have what's been allocated to them on the right-hand side, so flickers or light panels or sparks or whatever, and then a date as to when that shot is due in. So, and I just basically go from top to bottom each morning and just check that am I still in date. So, for example, they're all saying 11th of August. Which isn't yet, which is great, because that immediately tells me that they're all busy doing stuff. Sometimes people go on holiday and stuff like that, so then I just put a little note, say E for email, like I've emailed them, or OOA, which stands for out of action, with a date. So again, I know basically when I can or cannot keep in touch with them, and it's just getting to sort of like a routine each day, sort of housekeeping, going through the list and checking. And it sounds kind of simple, but it's taken quite a while to kind of build that very simple looking model of just that list of people over there. But it is quite effective. And on the left, then I've got sort of my dream team, and then I've got people on another list that's called Gone. So those are people that have done some stuff for us, and now they've got other projects. And we still need to credit them, obviously, in the movie. And also, we keep them on the mailing list so that they know what's going on with the movie. Because even though they're now cracking on with other projects and stuff like that, they still contributed to the project, and it's important that we, they're still part of us, they're part of our group, even though they're off doing more exciting things now. So it's important to keep that list there too. So when someone's finished doing stuff for us, we put them onto the Gone list. So I suppose I should do a little quick shout out to all my artists who are currently running at the moment. So we've got Susan Sparling. Jerome Smith hopefully coming back to play with us, Stephen Starrar, Tom Anderson, Daniel Salvador, Michael Maddock, whose computer's broken at the moment, but hopefully he's going to get that fixed soon. Tom Prentice, who's doing some chroma keying for us, very cool. Alex Brown, Peter Costa, James Thompson doing some texturing, Ray Mongery, is it Mongery? He's going to email me now about that. He's really funny on the emails. Julia Newbie, again, she's going to now email me because I got her name wrong. She's doing some Sparks, she's doing some really cool work for us. And she's doing another project as well. There's Andre Arosmina, he's done some really nice stuff for us. David Gill, Nick Tuitt, and Richard Harper, some new guys coming in there. And we've had some emails today of people as well. So, you know, these guys are all part of our team. And I think the final thing to think about is basically to remember that they are part of your team. And even though some of them are literally thousands of miles away, some of these guys are in Ecuador, Mexico, States, and obviously a lot in the UK too, is that they're still part of your team and you've got to keep them involved and remember that they're just as important as the guys that were painting the sets, as the people that were acting. You know, they're all part of one big crew. So it's good. Knackering, keeping them all entertained with shots, but ultimately that's what we want, isn't it? We want these shots to go out and then hopefully some more exciting shots that are coming out soon. You can say bye-bye to the camera. No! Come on, say bye-bye. No, oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Right, I'm going to press the button now, okay? Okay, right, press the button now. Ah, treat you! Oh man!